D-Lo 404 Boxing here. Okay, so I saw Fred's interview and Blue Blood's interview with Dean Whyte. I'll call him Dean Whyte because that's what he wants to go by. Shout out to those brothers for that great footage, great interview, great questioning. Shout out to Dean for standing in there taking that heat from him and giving good questions and being a sport about it. But one thing I just want to touch on that he said right now. Dean Whyte said that one of the reasons that the Ortiz fight for Dillian Whyte was not made was because nobody in the UK really knows who Luis Ortiz is, and that's not really wasn't going to be a big fight in the UK. I have to call bullshit on that for one reason. Luis Ortiz, and of course this is talking about in terms of around the time when Whyte said he wanted to fight Ortiz, and then Ortiz said, okay, you got a problem on your hand, let's get it made. And then Whyte went ahead and fought Chisora for the rematch. Around that time, Luis Ortiz had won 2 fights in a row, coming off of that Wilder stoppage in the first fight, but he fought Wilder for a title. Everyone in the UK knows who Luis Ortiz is. Every boxing fan, because he challenged Deontay Wilder for his title. And that's somebody, and there was a lot of conversation around that first fight that Deontay Wilder had bit off more than he could chew. Luis Ortiz was going to do this to Deontay Wilder, he's going to do that. There was a lot of talk about how Luis Ortiz was the rightful mandatory opponent for the WBA title that Anthony Joshua had, because he had stepped aside and allowed Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko to fight for the title, vacant title, and the winner was supposed to give him a shot. And a whole lot of things happened in politics of boxing. Most of it, it was kind of, a lot of things were done behind the guise of Luis Ortiz failing to disclose he was taking blood pressure medicine, which ultimately got the Wilder fight canceled initially. And then the WBA ruled that they would suspend him. So we know all about that. But so do the British boxing fans. So everyone over there who's a boxing fan knows who Luis Ortiz is. And I think they would have turned up, showed out to support their guy, Dillian Whyte, versus this guy who's perceived to be the boogeyman of the heavyweight division, knowing that Dillian Whyte has an opportunity to beat Luis Ortiz in more dramatic fashion or more dominant fashion than Deontay Wilder did. The other reason I know that the British boxing fans know who Luis Ortiz is, because it was the British boxing fans who were making the most noise and complaints about the commission stopping the fight at the beginning of the 8th round after the Luis Ortiz had a very dominant second half of the 7th round and looked like he was on the cusp of stopping Deontay Wilder but couldn't get him off his feet. It was the British fans who had the most to say about the commission stopping the fight for those few seconds to examine Deontay Wilder and considered waiving the fight off if they didn't like what they saw in Wilder before allowing him to proceed and go ahead and continue and fight the 8th round and ultimately stopping Luis Ortiz in the 10th. So they know who Deontay Wilder is. They would have turned up and they would have supported Dillian if Dillian is the star that I believe him to be over in the UK. I'm sure his fans would have came out and supported. I'm sure people who aren't really fans of his, but just fans of the sport over there would have turned out to support that fight. Not only would they have turned out, they would have turned on their television and given their pay-per-view money to support the event and to see the fight, because they would have believed that Dillian Whyte was in a situation and in a position where he's one fight away from Deontay Wilder's, a shot at Deontay Wilder's title should he beat Luis Ortiz. So I don't buy that excuse. Dillian Whyte didn't fight Luis Ortiz because he doesn't perceive Luis Ortiz as an opponent that is going to be an easy fight for him. And Luis Ortiz is the type of opponent that can derail every plan that Dillian Whyte has for his career at this stage. It has nothing to do with Luis Ortiz's age, because Dillian Whyte has no problem fighting other guys, Marius Watt, Lucas Brown, and it's looking like Povetkin, who are all around the same age as Luis Ortiz. So that's all I got to say on that subject. D-Lo 404 Boxing. Shout out to Marlo's Corner, Trey X, and the whole block fam. Shout out to the LDBC. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm out. Peace.